we basically have a lot of tools that support compliance. It is complex, and you absolutely need to engage an expert in compliance. So don't. This is like your like little legal thing. I'm glad it popped up after the recording started because now there's proof. Take the information that I'm providing you today as your starting point, right? Explore your own compliance regulations, your own compliance risk profile, right? And build from there. What I'm going to do is give you a little bit of an introductory and kind of clarify some points. So basically, I am going to share my screen if Piper will give me permission to do a screen share,
I can. You got it.
or Keith. Okay,
Yep,
cool.
you got it.
Yep. Excellent. That was so fast.
Service with a smile.
I love it. All right, guys. So basically, our goal today is to talk about how you can balance out your compliance, the cost, the cybersecurity element, and the compliance regulatory element of it as well. I'm Jamie Moore. I am a solution advisor at Blackpoint Cyber. I also manage our partner success team, so it's my job to help communicate to end customers about the value of cybersecurity and making sure that everyone has the tools and information that they need in order to make really good decisions about their cybersecurity. I came out of a IT background. I went to school for web programming. I worked for an IT company for 8 years, and then I joined Blackpoint Cyber about 2 years ago. Before then, I was a funeral director. It's a little fun fact. But anyway, moving on from that, and I'm just passionate about helping people make the right choices. So today's agenda, actually, I have a ton of information to share with you guys.
Hmm.
I want to talk about compliance versus security. They are not the same thing. People think they're the same thing. They are not. I want to talk about the threat landscape. It is changing and it has been intense this year. Then we're going to talk about the cost of not paying attention to compliance. And finally, like I said at the very beginning, we will talk about some of the tools that Blackpoint through NetV Pro offers to help you get to that security goal. But if you pay attention to 1 through 3, even if you're not buying anything we're selling, you're still going to learn to get value out of today. All right. So let's start on that agenda. Compliance versus security. Compliance itself is actually not a technical problem, right? Compliance is more something that is going to affect everyone in the organization. It is going to actually be a binary decision. So, unlike so many things in cybersecurity, you're either right or you're wrong. You're either compliant or you are not compliant. And it's kinda nice, it's comforting. I like a world where there's not a gray area. It's, very, very satisfying for our type A, super hyper organized folks. And the difference between compliance and cybersecurity is that compliance is mandated either by a law or a regulatory agency. Um, a lot of times, because it is regulated and they are trying to fit every solution and every business model in it, the technology recommendations can actually be quite vague. And that is a challenge. I think that is what causes so much concern and heartburn for the people trying to make technology decisions around compliance because the rules aren't super clear, and that makes it hard. So earlier, when the we were talking about binary, pass fail. When things are vague, it's hard to know how you can pass, and sometimes it comes down to whether your auditor thinks you're passing or not, right? So that is an individual interpretation of the information. Finally, not a point in time. You don't bloop, get compliant and you're done, and then you're always compliant. It is an ongoing process. So once you decide to go down that road of compliance, you need to know that that is a lifestyle, not a destination. All right. And then finally, it is impossible to achieve compliance without also including cybersecurity. If you mess this up, the consequence for failing compliance is fines, punishment from your regulatory industry, loss of clients, right? These are pretty defined penalties for not achieving your compliance. On the flip side, When we're talking about cybersecurity, we're talking about risk management. We want to understand all of the good things you've got going in your environment, all of your assets, and imagine what could go wrong. That's our job. We are very pessimistic. We are quite imaginative, and it's our job to live in that area so that we can understand how to keep your risk as minimal as possible. There are also lots of shades of gray, there are overlapping solutions, and there are different risk profiles. Some people might decide, I like living life by the edge. I don't care if my whole server gets ransomware. Doesn't matter to me. I'll just wipe that puppy out and restore from backup. Hackers can have my data. Nothing I own is critical, right? That's a risk profile. Uh, or there's that like hyper aware, very scared actor. I don't want anyone on my network doing anything that I don't know about. I don't want any data to leave my ship, right? Like, again, it's a risk profile. So you have people on different ends of that spectrum. And you guys, when you're making your decisions about security and compliance, you need to figure out where you live, right? And a lot of that is going to be controlled by your IT and your personnel. You need to have the right people in place in order to achieve the desired goal. You need to have a mindset of security that applies across the board, all of your employees. Everyone is involved in cybersecurity, not just one person. All right. Finally, your security is going to be constrained by budget. I might like to turn, and I like to compare this to physical security, right? Might like to turn my house into like a fortress, like gated entry, armed security guards. Like I had someone walk up to my car the other night. I must have left it unlocked. Opened the door, went in, went through all my stuff. I didn't leave anything valuable in there for the win. But I came in and like that space had been violated, right? So I want my car behind a locked entryway. Like I want my guard dogs outside patrolling the area. But there's costs associated with that. I don't get that level of protection for my home because I'm not willing to pay for it.
Building
So
a moat is not inexpensive.
Exactly. That's exactly it, Keith. So it's one of those things where you do need to understand your budget and you need to pick smart tools for security. You need to pick tools that aren't doing the same job, tools that are adding bang for your buck and actually going to make the most of that limited resource, which is your budget. And then finally, you have to have it in order to be compliant, right? So they are related. It's not completely separate, but they are different concepts. And I think it's really important to understand that. And then finally, what happens when security is breached? Well, that's risk. That is, your business gets ransomware, your servers get smushed, your data ends up on the web for purchase, or your customers all learn that you've been ransomwared. And that has cost associated with it. So what we are doing is we're moving these two concepts to the center and looking at your overall safety. That's the goal of compliance with security. They have the same purpose, the shared goal, but they're different entities. Um, and one requires the other. Compliance mandates security. Security doesn't necessarily mandate compliance. Easy peasy.